Hey everybody, welcome back to Dating Secrets. I'm Jennifer Kathryn. I'm an angel intuitive, clairsentient, clairaudient, and clairvoyant. I communicate with your angels on your behalf to give you guidance about your life. I'm also a relationship coach, and I help with navigating online dating from your profile and your pictures to communication and the actual date. And what sets me apart from other coaches is that I'm actually dating right side along with you. I am on a lot of different apps and I know what's out there and I can give you advice. So today we're going to talk about why interested men disappear. And disappear is in quotes because they don't really disappear. They just kind of, subtract themselves out of your life. Sometimes I answer questions on this app called Quora, and a popular question goes something like this. I was dating this guy for 2 weeks and then I never heard from him again. We were texting, but then he stopped responding. Or we made vague plans, but he never followed up. Or he flat out ghosted me. Why? This is what people want to know. Why did he do this? Why is this happening? An FYI, ghosting is a term used in dating. It's a verb for when a person you're dating disappears like a ghost. Here 1 minute and gone the next. And both men and women ghost. It's not just a male phenomenon. Both sides are definitely guilty of ghosting. It's kind of like trying to save someone's feelings, trying to avoid confrontation, or you really just don't give a shit and you're done. So people don't really care about other people's feelings when they're not that invested, and so they just act like they were never in communication with you to begin with. But my answer to the disappearing act question of why is, who cares? If he obviously isn't interested in dating you or communicating with you, why do you even care why he disappeared? If he was really interested, he would pursue you and nothing would stop him from pursuing you. And there's a million reasons why a man could, disappear or ghost you. He met someone else. He was already with someone else and she caught him cheating. He's super busy at work. His dog got sick. A family member died. His mom, his grandma, his cousin. His phone dropped in a vat of acid. Whatever. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It really doesn't matter why. The bottom line is that you don't need to waste your time figuring out the why of it, and just know that something or someone else is more important to him than you. And you don't want to date someone who thinks anything is more important than finding 5 minutes to talk to you. Do you really want your relationship to not be a priority to the person you're dating? I don't think so. So even if his mom died, I think that he could find 30 seconds to shoot you a text and go, hey, family crisis, can't talk right now. Or, whatever it is, a text literally takes seconds. So if you were Margot Robbie or Gigi Hadid or Beyonce, don't you think he'd find time to text you back or give you a call? Yeah, probably. If he was super, super motivated and interested, he'd find the time to call you. When someone's a priority to you, you don't ignore them like that. And act like they don't matter, because it does matter. It matters how communication is going and how people treat us. So let's please not focus on the why he disappeared. It's not helpful in your dating life at all. So this is assuming, though, that you didn't do something to change his mind about courting you. So we're going to talk about things you can't control and things you can control. So the flaky guy will always be flaky. If he's gonna, drop communication and goes, then he's just gonna do that, and there's nothing you could do about it. But there are certain things you can control. So what if this guy was treating you right, perfectly, and then abruptly disappeared? So could you have possibly done or said something to turn him off? And that's what I'm going to talk about. Some of the most likely behaviors you displayed to change his mind about you. That perhaps he doesn't see you as his next girlfriend because you did one of these cringy behaviors, okay? So the first one is acting from your masculine energy. And I've talked about this before. A predominantly masculine energy man will connect with a feminine energy woman. You can find a feminine energy man if you are predominantly in your masculine, but you will have to be in that masculine energy most of the time. So most women don't want to do all the planning and dominating and achieving in the relationship. They want to be courted. They want to receive because that's feminine. So I did a blog post about masculine and feminine energy in dating, and you can see that on my website. It's jenniferkathryn.org/blog. But just a couple examples of what is masculine: logic, mind, achieving, controlling, competitive, intellectual, dominating. A couple of things that are mostly feminine: intuitive, sensual, experiencing, being, collaborative, expressive, and yielding. So this is about not trying to control the relationship, which I have been guilty of in the past myself. He doesn't text you for 2 days, so you text him. You're like, hey, poke, you haven't talked to me, you haven't called me, what's going on? Or maybe, not even phrased like that, but just like initiating. If you have to do all of the initiating, all of the proactive communication, you're being the man, you're being masculine, you're trying to control the outcome. I want you to stay more open to receiving and allow him to fill the gap, step into being and participating in that relationship with you. And if he doesn't meet you halfway, then he's probably not that interested in you. The chasing. So what we chase runs away, and it's the uncertainty of it all what keeps things interesting. So Matthew Hussey calls it perceived challenge. You want to be perceived as a challenge to this man. The person who depends on the relationship the least controls the outcome. So think about it. So when you're dating someone and you're not particularly that interested, and you just kind of go, I could take it or leave it, and he comes chasing after you and he's like, oh, I have to see you, when are you free? The less interested you act, the more interested he is. And this can be obviously an unhealthy type of situation if it's taken too far. You don't want to act like you're not interested when you are. That's not being authentic. That's not coming from an authentic place. And you also don't want to play games. So when the man calls you, for example, and leaves a message, you're like, I'm going to wait 2 days before I call him back. That's game playing. Now, if you're super busy and didn't have a chance to call him back that evening and call him back the next day, well, that's just you living your life. You're not playing games. You're just a busy person with a full life. And so that is a way to be challenging without playing hard to get. We don't want to play hard to get. Don't play anything. Just be yourself. Try not to base the relationship on how much you like him. So when you focus all of your attention and energy on how to make him like you. How do I make this guy like me? I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You lose all of your power and you're turning, into this fan who lavishes attention on the celebrity, and you don't want to be in that energy because celebrities don't hang out with fans. They don't, because they don't really know them. They feel like, oh, you've only seen that persona on the screen. You don't really know me for who I am. And it's the same thing with a guy that you just started dating. You don't really know him. You've actually filled in the blanks with all the qualities you think he might have. But until he actually demonstrates all of those characteristics and qualities, you don't really know him. So don't treat him like a celebrity. Don't try to please him, giving him what he wants, because then the chase is over. If you all of a sudden, have, in my example, a dance class every day on the certain day of the week, and that man asks you out for that night, you don't cancel your plans to go on a date. You go to dance class. I never miss dance class. And you push him off till Friday or Saturday or later next week. It's all about keeping your boundaries and keeping yourself high value. And you don't have to bend over backwards to please someone, because if he really wants to go out with you, he'll just wait till Friday or wait till you're free. So this brings me to number 2. You don't respect your boundaries. This is another reason why he disappeared. So if you put up with his bad behavior, that means you don't respect your own boundaries. Never be afraid to lose him. So if he does something unacceptable, you have to be prepared at any point in the dating relationship to cut things off and just cut your losses and leave. The best thing to do when he does something that you don't like is to call him out on it and make him live up to your standards. So if a guy asks me to go on a date that same day, that's not acceptable to me. To me, I like to plan things ahead. I already have plans for today, even if it's just like, I'm gonna have dinner with my kid and watch Netflix. That's a plan. I've already planned it in my head. This is what I'm gonna do. So he is not respecting me or my time when he wants to make plans at the last minute. So that's my boundary. So if I push back and I say, oh, I've got plans for tonight, how about Friday? You just make him live up to your standards. If he says no, and then all of a sudden gets, irritated or upset or demanding, you can just go, you know what, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in you anymore. So if he does not respect your boundaries, he's out. Don't have a high tolerance for wishy-washy behavior. This is when you've made plans and then he's like, oh, you know what? Something came up. I got to go here and there and I won't be able to see you, but maybe we could go out Friday. That's okay, maybe to tolerate one time if he had some kind of emergency or critical issue pop up, but repeated wishy-washy behavior is very unattractive. It's obviously not living up to your expectations and you need to get rid of him. An inconsiderate man does not deserve your attention. So please love yourself enough to let go of men that are not appreciative and considerate of your time and effort. Don't threaten to leave. Just leave. You don't have to, make excuses or tell him all your standards. If he doesn't live up to your standards, you just go. You don't have to have a reason. You can just say, it was nice getting to know you, but I don't think that we're compatible, or I don't feel a romantic connection. Those are perfectly legitimate, excuses, and you don't have to offer him any further commentary on which standards he didn't live up to and why. And, just say, I don't think we're a romantic connection. Bye-bye. The high value woman, again, does not play games. This is not a game. You are busy and you have a life, and he needs to respect your time. Same thing with my example of that I have a dance class that I go to religiously, and I'm not going to go out on a date that night. It's for my well-being, it's for my health. I'm busy, and we're just going to have to go out some other time. And I definitely have availability on other nights of the week. It's not like I'm telling him, oh gosh, I'm busy for the next 2 weeks. Maybe a month from now I'll pencil you in. Because no guy's going to put up with that either. He has standards too for the women that he dates. So you have to be reasonable in your expectations and managing someone else's expectations, but don't compromise your own standards. We all have a very limited time on the earth. Do you want to spend it in a half-assed relationship or in an awesome one? So it's up to you, what you're willing to put up with and what your standards are. The third unattractive behavior that may have sent him ghosting or disappearing is you pressured him too early for a commitment. Where is this going? What are we? What are your intentions? That's way too serious. Those are very serious questions early on. And your commitment is a gift. So you are giving up your opportunity to meet someone else. So you need to be really sure that this is a guy that you want to commit to. And like within the early first few weeks of the relationship, you don't know that. You don't know if this is someone you want to commit to. And neither does he, barely. So you have to not say, where's this going? Where is this going? Because neither party knows where it's going yet. Now, if it's been 6 months and he still hasn't talked about, any sign of commitment, then that's probably a conversation that you need to have, which is a whole other conversation. But he should be begging you to be exclusive. I mean, don't you want to be in a relationship where someone says hell yes to a relationship and not, okay? Yeah, I think you do. It's just, you don't want to be with someone who's half-heartedly in it. If you pressure him for a commitment and he's like, okay, sure, whatever, he doesn't really want to be in it. He doesn't really have that drive or that challenge that, oh my gosh, I won this woman over everyone else. If he's just falling into it, he's not going to respect it because he didn't have to work hard to get it. They're very high value ways to say that you're not going to casually date him endlessly without being exclusive. So we can go into that another time, but there's a big difference between pressuring for a commitment and having a conversation to say, where are you at? And you don't want to get emotionally invested with someone who isn't interested in you in the long term. So it's about, protecting your own emotions as well as not pressuring him. There's a balance there. So there's this other author that I read about love and relationships, and he calls women either a placeholder or a game changer. So the placeholder woman is just someone he's going to say, yeah, sure, to the commitment to, because she's just holding space until he meets someone else. So she's literally a placeholder, a bookmark, until he finds someone that's worthy of his time and attention. So the game changer, on the other hand, is the woman who completely turns his whole world around and he can't imagine living life without her. That's the woman he's going to chase and commit to because she's different. She has completely changed the rules of this game and he needs to step up if he wants to be with her. So don't issue ultimatums regarding commitment. We have to be exclusive or we're not having sex. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I know a lot of people have this as a standard, which is fine. But it's not about we have to be exclusive before we have sex. It's about I need to feel emotionally close and bonded and in love with someone before I give the gift of my sexuality. That's a big difference between we have to be exclusive and we're not having sex, or, I have to really know you and have a connection. So one is an ultimatum, we have to do this, and the other is a boundary. Like, this is my boundary. I'm not just having sex with anyone. I'm going to have sex with someone that I have an emotional commitment with, or have a connection, or I'm emotionally invested. Whatever your standard is, know what it is and know how to communicate it. There are many better ways to get across that boundary to him than issuing an ultimatum. So you should always expect to be respected. So if a person is not treating you with respect, you have to know your boundaries in order to tell that person what your boundary and expectation is, or be prepared to leave and exit stage right from being in their life. So you don't want to express to a man how you've been hurt in the past, or you have a negative view of men in general. He's an individual like you. You don't want him comparing you to every past girlfriend that he's had and go, oh, she's probably just like so-and-so. She's probably clingy and an alcoholic or whatever. Everybody's had, bad relationships, and bad things happen to them, but you don't want to bring that negativity into your new current relationship. You want to judge that individual based on his actions with you, not what he did to someone else or how he was with someone else. Acting suspicious and jealous, of course, is not good behavior for you. And it's pretty easy to not act suspicious and jealous when you're not that emotionally invested in someone. Think back to someone that you really didn't like, you went out with, didn't really like them, didn't care for them much. Would you have been jealous if they were, texting another woman the next day? Probably not. You probably couldn't care less because you weren't even invested or cared about the relationship at all. So try to have that kind of mindset with everyone you date until there is a commitment, because, just all of these behaviors and things that you're trying to put on someone or issue ultimatums on someone, it's really all about you feeling emotionally invested, like this has to work because I'm falling in love with this person. Really try to get out and back up from that space, because once you are overly invested, then you just gave away all your power. You have no power left. Basically, you will take anything what this man says or does. You have real problems maintaining your standards and boundaries, and you accept all sorts of bad behavior just to keep this person in your life. So really, really keep a hold of your emotions and try not to get too invested. So the next topic I'll be doing is how to tell if you're in your feminine and how to switch. So if you're not in your feminine, if you're acting all masculine on your date, then you want to check that and switch. So thank you so much for joining me for this little foray into why interested men disappear. I do have relationship coaching packages if you want to do more of a deep dive, or if something that I said kind of triggered you and said, wait a minute, I'm doing that. How do I stop doing that? If you need communication techniques for how to convey that you're very high value and you don't sleep around. If you have a friend who could use this video, please forward it to her. Please like, share, and subscribe. I have other videos about dating and relationship topics in this Dating Secrets series. And if you have a question or a suggestion, please feel free to put it in the comments. So I hope this information gave you some confidence, and remember, confidence is beautiful. See you next time.